Okay, guys, you're welcome to lesson 5 on our series of IGCSE geography. Now, here in this lesson, we'll be looking at migration. Okay, so without wasting so much time, first, the learning objective is for us to explain. We are meant to explain and give reasons for population migration. So for this section, we should can identify the different forms of migration. We should be able to describe reasons for migration. So we'll look at the push and pull factors of migration. So we should be able to describe the problems migrants face in a destination country. Now, quickly, some major keywords. What is migration? Migration is the movement of people across specific boundaries, and it can be both national or international, and live there for a year or more. Then immigration has to do with moving into a country from another country. That's immigration. Emigration is leaving or moving out of one's own country. The net migration is the difference between immigration and emigration. It can be both positive and negative. Net migration is usually equal to immigration minus emigration. So if immigration is higher than immigration, you have a positive value. But if immigration is lower than immigration, you definitely have a negative value. That means, okay, let's see forms of migration. Now, the forms of migration are voluntary migration, which is the movement of people usually by choice. Then we have involuntary migration, which is the forced movement of people usually to unknown destination. Involuntary migration can also be called forced migration. Then next is internal migration, which is the movement of people within a country. So that's the key word there. When you move within a country is internal migration. International migration is the movement of people from one country to another country. Then asylum seekers is a person who has left their country of origin for fear of persecution with permission to stay in another country. Then a refugee is a person who has been forced to leave their country of origin in fear of their lives. Then IDP as someone who is forced to leave their home but who remains within the country's border. Then rural to urban migration is the movement of people from rural or countryside, from villages to towns and cities. Now, what are the reasons for migration? Why do people move? Now, it is divided into two. We have the push and the pull factors, reasons why people move. And the push factors are negative conditions. Push factors are usually negative conditions at the point of origin, which encourage or force people to move. Then we have pull factors are positive conditions at the point of destination. So the positive things in the destination which encourage people to migrate to them. So you see, people can leave rural areas to urban areas, and there are reasons for that we'll look at shortly. Now, what are these factors? In the case of push factors, people move into a new country, or people leave their country of origin. Why will people leave their country of origin? Because of unemployment or low paid jobs. People leave their country of origin because of poor health care. Also, when there are less hospitals and less doctors. People leave their country also, number 3, poor education, not enough schools, to escape poverty and low GDP within the country, they tend to leave. Next is lack of clean water and sanitation. We have drought, which is total dryness of an area. Because of natural disasters such as earthquake, volcanoes, tsunami, tropical storms. Because of another reason is not enough electricity can make people leave. War and conflict, inadequate food supplies, persecution, lack of freedom, corruption, political instability, and poor government genocide, murder rate, air pollution, and smog are all push factors. Now, there is this question they normally ask where they will ask you what are the reasons. Usually they will ask what are the reasons for forced migration. Reason for forced migration. Now, when you get this type of question, what are the reasons why people will leave their country by force? Those are not economic reasons. Now, the reasons for forced migration are things like drought can cause that. Earthquake, volcanoes, natural disasters can cause forced migration. Things like war and conflict can cause forced migration. We have persecution, lack of freedom can cause forced migration. Things like political instability and can also cause forced migration. So if you are asked what are the reasons for forced migration, please do not forget it's not everything that you need to write here. We have things like drought, natural disasters, war and conflict, persecution, and political instability can actually lead to forced migration. Then, but however, if they don't specify forced migration and just ask you reasons why people move, you just need to write this. Now, why we have pull factors, the things in the destination region that attract people to it. First, here we have economic migration for employment, so people move to get a better job, which help to improve their own standard of living. Next is to escape persecution, war and conflict, so they go to a more safer zone. For better standard of education in the destination region, better healthcare services, which help to improve their life expectancy. We have good food supply in MEDCs, which will solve the problem of hunger, starvation, and malnutrition. There is availability of water, there is availability of electricity, there is where you have good housing systems also, so people tend to move because of these reasons. Now, what are the problems immigrants face in the destination region? So in the destination region where they go to, some of the major issues they suffer from is that usually it's difficult to find job. Usually there is also discrimination, racial abuse, racial conflicts, racial tension, and xenophobia. You can use South Africa as an example for this. We have low pay jobs and exploitation. There's usually language difficulties, and these language difficulties make it more difficult in finding jobs. Finding more affordable homes, because homes in this destination region can be very expensive, so it's usually difficult finding homes. Then healthcare may not be affordable. It's available but not affordable. You need money to be able to afford them. Education also may not be affordable. They usually move away from family and friends, so it's difficult to adapt. Qualification might, and some cases, will not be accepted. Another thing is hard to get citizenship, get green card. It's difficult to get permission to work in some of this country. Now, it's hard to adapt to different culture also, and also you cannot practice your religion except your religion is what is being practiced in that particular country. So now you see, these are problems immigrants face in a destination region where they are going through. Now, what are the impacts of migration? Now, when looking at impact of migration, it is in two ways. We have impact of migration in the source region, and we have impact of migration in the destination region. In the destination region. So, if people are leaving, let's say Nigeria to UK, you find out that Nigeria is the source while UK is the destination. So the movement, the impact, it can have both positive impact in Nigeria and it has negative impact in Nigeria. It has positive impact in UK and has negative impact in UK. So let's look at this now. So usually, what are some keywords we need to look at? Emigrant, migrants who move out of a country are called emigrant. Immigrant are migrants who move into a country. Then illegal migrant is a person who enters a country to work and live without permission. is an illegal migrant. Economic migrant is a person who moved to live and work there for at least a year. Then source, where people are living. Destination, where people are going to. Internal migrant, a person who moved to live or working in a different place within the same city. So let's look at some of the impacts now. Impact of migration. So positive impact in the source region. In this case, let's say people live in Nigeria. What will be the positive impact if people leave? Now, it will reduce unemployment. That's one. Returning migrants, when they come back, they bring back skills which make job to become more available. Now, when they are in the destination country, one importance is also remittance, where they send money back to their family members at home, which help to boost the financial capabilities of these families. Now, less pressure on healthcare because most people have most of them have leave the country, so there will be less pressure on healthcare and educational services. Now, returning migrants increase the social expectation, and returning migrants also are with high purchasing power because they have more money now, so they tend to spend more. Now, increase investment in projects like buildings. Now, what are the negative impact of on the source region? So people living in Nigeria have a lot of negative impact in Nigeria, and one of the negative impact is that it will cause an imbalance in population structure. So mostly high dependent population will now be left behind. That means mostly the old and young people will be left behind, while the economic active people would have migrated. Now, it will lead to relatively few men will remain mostly within the population. You have more women will be left behind and more elderly people. That's a negative problem. That's a huge impact. Now, it lower fertility and birth rate because most men have moved out. Now, reduction in economic active workforce. Example such as loss of farmers and teachers. Now, we have less money will be coming into household because working population has declined. Now, food production will decline because most of the men has abandoned farm and have gone somewhere else. Now, there will be loss of social cohesion, so families tend to split. It will lead to loneliness. Remittance or financial boost for families remaining behind, and there will be less pressure on health and educational services. There will be closure of schools, hospitals, and lack of clients. There will be less investment by government. So you see, these are some negative impact that it will have on the destination country. I think this number 8, I mistakenly add this number 8 here, so it shouldn't be, it should be somewhere here, sorry. Now, positive impact of migration. Now, the positive impact on destination region. So what you receiving migrant, in this case we UK, what is the positive impact of Nigerians in UK going to UK or going to a different country? Now, mostly economic migrants tend to take up the less desirable jobs, and they help to gain skills, skilled people at a very low cost. This is usually the brain drain syndrome. Now, can pay low wages to these skilled people. Now, these migrants tend to work long hours, which is an advantage to them. Cost of retirement transferred back to the home country. Now, creation of multicultural society, lifestyle, dress, tradition, food tend to be multicultural within this destination country because you tend to go there with your own ideas and the type of food you love. Now, fresh ideas and intelligent people in research and development institution. You have young talent in the field of sport and culture also. So these are positive impact that they bring into the country they are going to. However, there are negative impact also. So when you have a lot of migrants, it tend to affect the destination country when a lot of people is coming, or when a lot of people are coming into the country. And some of that is, it will lead to the cost of education to migrant children. So they will tend to build more schools because their population will increase. There are fewer jobs for unskilled workers. You find out that may move back once they earn a lot of money. They tend to move back to their country, so that's a problem. Now, there will be amenities problems because there will be need for more hospitals and more schools with the extra people. Now, there is an over dependence of some industries on migrant workers. Now, discrimination against ethnic groups may lead to civil war, like in the case of Indonesia in 1997 to 98. You can check that on Google to confirm or read more about the story. Now, the loss of aspects of cultural identity, particularly among the second generation migrant, there are usually segregated areas of similar ethnic group are created. You have Singapore, Little Indians, you can check that in Singapore. Now we have problems of illegal migration, where people come into the country illegally to work within the country. So this is all you need to know about migration. So later on, I'll still do some video series on how to answer questions on migration and population. So thank you so much.